Hello, today I'm going to be presenting on trauma therapy for victims of sex trafficking in Florida. So we'll go ahead and get started with the need for trauma therapy for victims of sex trafficking in Florida. So it's estimated that in 2022, somewhere between 20 and 40 million people were currently enslaved through trafficking. In the United States, that is most commonly due to sex trafficking in particular, and 83% of those people are women. In Florida, my home state has the third largest population of female survivors of sex trafficking. So therefore, we can deduce that there is a very big need for trauma therapy for these victims in my particular state. So just here we can see two graphs. One is just you can see the vast majority of people trafficked are women. This is victims trafficked in 2021. And so this is showing you, there's just a much larger amount of women that are trafficked than men. We don't want to negate the men that are also being trafficked and their need for trauma therapy, but for the purpose of this assignment, we're just talking about women in general. And then you can see here the top 3 states for sex trafficking on this graph. You can see that California is the largest, Texas is second largest, and Florida is not far behind. So I have 2 modalities of treatment that I believe would be successful for women committing sex trafficking. The first is trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy. So just due to past trauma and just that you usually have going into sex trafficking and the trauma from sex trafficking, victims may have false self-schemas about themselves and the world around them. So a self-schema is just what you think about yourself and the world around you. And so these women may be thinking, I'm bad, the world's bad, everyone is out to hurt me. I can't have a healthy relationship. I can't be a healthy parent. I can't be healthy in this way. I can't hold a steady job. I can't do these things. And one method that can help with self-schema from past experiences is reframing these events through trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy. So changing those thoughts, getting hold of them and changing them. So trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy has shown to be effective in reducing PTSD symptoms in victims of sex trafficking already. So we're off to a good start. So another proposed treatment modality that I hope to do in tandem with trauma-focused CBT is EMDR. So this is eye movement deprocessing or desensitization reprocessing. So this theory is highly recommended for post-traumatic stress disorder, which a lot of these women have coming out of sex trafficking, and they also will be able to pinpoint specific memories that cause these things. So in particular, in a study using EMDR as a treatment modality for victims of sexual assault, it was found to be successful in the reduction of PTSD symptoms. So I believe that by using both TFCBT and EMDR to treat victims of sex trafficking, we will see profound results. So proposed delivery of these modalities, so due to marginalization of victims of trafficking, just due to them commonly being of minority or of a lower social economic status, they may not have access to or be able to afford treatment. And so counselors will have to be really advocating for this in their community with local rescue organizations. And so that would look like a team of trained LMHCs, which we would seek out, getting together and approaching rescue organizations and offering this type of treatment, because we can't do, as LMHCs in Florida, we're not equipped to house these people and keep them on their feet and get them new jobs. That is a social worker and a rescue organization job, but we want to come alongside those organizations and provide the therapy that is needed for them to be successful in that rehabilitation. So for this, we'll need partnership of rescue organizations, social workers, and other LMHCs trained in these particular modalities or willing to be trained in these particular modalities. So the proposed delivery is after a few sessions of therapy with a clinician providing trauma-focused CBT and getting to know the client, learning their background, learning what's those self-schemas that have really gotten in the way here. The clinician will use their discretion to decide the right time to begin EMDR. So they really want to make sure that they've gotten to know the client feels safe with them, and that they can pinpoint particular moments that the client and particular feelings that the client has with EMDR. And then once EMDR begins, I propose that treatment should be once a week, trauma-focused CBT, and then the next week it would be EMDR, and you alternate like that, just because EMDR is pretty intense, and we don't want to be doing that every single week to these survivors. So the major goals of treatment is a reduction of symptoms such as PTSD resulting from trauma, and a reduction of symptoms will reduce the vulnerability of survivors, improve their quality of life, and help reduce the risk of victimization. So minor goals to move forward with the project, those were our major goals, just what we hope to achieve. Our minor goals is identify LMHCs in the area who are willing to be trained in TFCBT and EMDR, as well as offer services to survivors. Identify and contact rescue organizations whose clients desire treatment, schedule treatments, and set up mode of transportation of survivors to and from treatment through social workers. So how will we know treatment has been successful? One measurement, so we're really going to measure quality of life. So we're wanting their quality of life to improve. And how are we going to measure that? Is by survivors staying out of sex trafficking, clients obtaining a steady job and keeping that job, and answers to a questionnaire on emotional health. And one other measurement we will take is if the client has stayed away from drugs and alcohol. Many sex trafficking victims are forced to ingest drugs and alcohol during their victimization, and so therefore an addiction easily goes from there. And so we would just want to make sure they're not self-medicating in that way. And another measurement will be whether the client remains connected to their children. A lot of victims have a hard time parenting after they get out, and we just want to make sure they're staying in their home with their children and measuring that as well. So there's multiple measurements we can take and kind of get a gauge on where a client is at. And thank you guys so much just for listening. And I hope this becomes something that I really get to do in my community.